Hi, this is Eric, and I'm going to do my EPA loop driving test. I say EPA loop because this loop approximates the EPA range. So just the driving style is a mix between highway, town, and interstate. So it's a pretty good blend of driving with the average speed of around 40-45 miles per hour. It just kind of depends a little bit, but so in other words, very similar to EPA, and like the Tesla Model 3 got EPA range driving this loop. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'm not driving until empty. I'm just driving 2 cycles of the loop. Before starting my trip, looking at the trip meter is I'm at 0 miles and 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. That's just the default value. That's the rated EPA range, so that's what it shows on the trip when it starts, when there's still no data. So it'll adjust from there depending on how it's actually performing. And tire pressures are all 38 psi. So we will go ahead and start from that point. So I'm in process of running my test. I checked the odometer or speedometer, and it's about 1.5 mile per hour high, which is typical of a new car. So I set it to 61 miles per hour, and we'll go from there. So we're about 16 miles in, actually 18 miles, and we're driving by part of the new Duane Arnold solar facility. It's hard to see in the wide angle view, but this is going to be like, the first stage is like 50 megawatt, and the second and third stages are like up to 150 megawatt. But anyway, the efficiency right now is 3 miles per kilowatt hour. So rated is 3.1. So by the time I finish the loop and run the loop backwards once, so a total of like 80 miles, we should be right about 3.1 if we're similar to EPA, if we're going to meet EPA rating. And then after that, I charge it at home on my ChargePoint Home Flex and look at how many total kilowatt hours it uses, because that'll give me the total efficiency of the vehicle from the wall, from the plug. So, which is what matters for how much total energy the vehicle uses. So that includes charging and conversion losses. So we're just about to go by the other stages of this. You notice those solar panels are on, they can rotate. So it's a nice feature to have, to be able to have your panels track the sun. And while we're waiting to get up to the last section of that, I'll show you the cool mirror. The mirror is electronic, so it's kind of weird. You can flip it down, but then it just goes to normal glass mode, but it's kind of dark, so it's good for night driving. When it's up, it's in the electronic mode. My only comment there is when it's in that mode, you can't see into the back seat, which is a little weird. I'm used to being able to adjust the mirror to see into the back seat if I need something. I know that's not appropriate mirror use, but if you have kids, you end up doing that a lot. Weather, it's 63 Fahrenheit and calm winds. So really nice, quiet day to do this test. Perfect before it gets too cold or and I don't have to use the air conditioner. So climate control is off. Since I haven't done the town portion of the driving yet, I'm hopeful I'll actually exceed EPA range in this vehicle. So I'll cut the video right after I show Dwayne Arnold here. Dwayne Arnold's the old nuclear plant. Most of the solar panels are rotated the other way right now. It's more interesting in the evening when they're pointing towards the road. So here I am just finishing up my first loop. I'm going to turn around and go the other direction to remove the effects of wind, or at least reduce them. Now I always pick a calm day when I can to do this so I don't have more errors. But the current reading is 40.2 miles, and I have just another half mile or so to finish the loop, and 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour, and it just turned to 3.2 from 3.1, so it's somewhere between 3.1 and 3.2. And as I said, you have to hit 3.1 to get EPA, and we're looking like we're going to be right there, so just maybe 3% better or something, so negligible. And this loop is just really close to EPA, so I like that I found this loop, test loop. And you know, it doesn't really matter which vehicle, like as long as you're driving climate off and driving this loop, you'll get EPA rating for the most part, with maybe a few exceptions. But like even the Tesla, I was able to hit EPA with this, and that was even the Tesla I drove to empty on this loop, which was, you know, like 300 miles basically. So it seems to be a good loop. All right, I am just wrapping up the morning test. I have a few miles left, so I'll put final numbers at the end, but I'm at 79.5 miles, averaging 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour, so exactly where I expected to be after the first run. And my only complaint about this thing, it shows 210 miles remaining, and you can see the battery gauge there, but you notice there's no percentage on the battery gauge. I can find nowhere to get the actual battery percentage from the car. All I can get is the estimated range, and that range is, you know, kind of calculated on recent driving, so it's kind of difficult. I do know of a workaround where I can go to the home screen here and go to my apps, and I know a better route planner will show me the percentage. And since I allowed a better route planner to take data from the car, that shows up there in 72%. So it roughly, so it used 28% of the battery to go this far. We'll see what that comes to for how much actual energy I put into the battery, or take from the wall, I should say, when I do my charge. So I will follow up with some slides of that, and thanks for watching. So to wrap up the video, I used 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour and a total of 27 kilowatt hours to do the drive, or just over 27. So to compare, I used 22.7 in the Tesla Model 3 and 25 point something in the Kia EV6. So just a little more energy to drive the Blazer the same distance, but it's also a slightly bigger vehicle than the EV6, and so it's pretty reasonable. The battery is also bigger, so the overall range is actually very similar to the Model 3 or the EV6, with the Model 3 having the smallest battery. So with that, the Blazer was an efficient vehicle and worked very well for the test.